Greetings class, this is Miss Pullen. Today we're going to learn about irony. Irony is one of the most common figures of speech that we use, especially in literature. I know that for many of you, what we're talking about today is going to be a review, but I wanted to make sure that everyone is on the same page because some of the distinctions between the different kinds of irony can be tricky. Today we're going to look at all three different kinds, make sure that we know their definitions, and look at video examples of each one. Ready? First is situational irony. Dictionary.com entry for situational irony says that it is irony involving a situation in which actions have an effect that is opposite from what was intended, so that the outcome is contrary to what was expected. In other words, situational irony is when a situation happens in which the outcome is backwards from what you would expect, or turns out differently from what you intended. There are a lot of different examples of this. For example, situational irony could be when I am coming to your house to find you to get together to study, but you are coming to my house at the same time. We are both intending the same thing, but the outcome, us going to each other's houses, is a little bit different from what you would expect, what we would have expected. And as a better example, I have for you the British comedian Mr. Bean, who's going to give you an example of situational irony in this next video. Now it's your turn to respond. Pull out your writer's notebook or a piece of notebook paper and write down just a fast 1 or 2 sentence answer to each question. How is this video an example of situational irony, an unexpected outcome? And why is it funny? Pause the video if you need more time. Next up is verbal irony. Verbal irony, according to the dictionary, is irony in which a person says one thing and means another, or uses words to convey a meaning that is opposite of the literal meaning. In other words, verbal irony means that you say something, but you mean completely the opposite. Now, I need to make an important distinction here. That does not mean sarcasm. You're going to hear that definition and think, wait, that means being sarcastic. There is a difference. Sarcasm is a kind of verbal irony. Sarcasm is verbal irony that's pointed at someone. It's usually intended to insult or make some kind of commentary about a person. But you can use verbal irony without being sarcastic. For example, if it's storming and blowing outside and I look out the window and say, "Oh, what fine weather we're having." Do I really mean that it's fine weather? No, I don't. And you might hear that and say, she's being sarcastic. And that's kind of how we've come to define it, but really what that is verbal irony. Sarcasm is verbal irony pointed at a person. But that does tend to be the kind that we use probably the most often. So for example, have a look at Lottie here.
Charlotte, you said later 2 hours ago.
Travis, when a woman says later, she really means not ever. Now run along. There are plenty of young fillies dying for you to waltz them into a stupor.
Or how about a little Big Bang Theory? Pay attention and see if you can tell what about verbal irony and sarcasm Sheldon is missing.
Morning.
Morning.
I have to say, I slept splendidly. Granted, not long, but just deeply and well.
I'm not surprised. A well-known folk cure for insomnia is to break into your neighbor's apartment and clean.
Sarcasm?
You think?
Granted, my methods may have been somewhat unorthodox, but I think the end result will be a measurable enhancement of Penny's quality of life.
You know what? You convinced me. Maybe tonight we should sneak in and shampoo her carpet.
You don't think that crosses a line?
Yes. For God's sake, Sheldon, do I have to hold up a sarcasm sign every time I open my mouth?
You have a sarcasm sign?
No, I do not have a sarcasm sign.
All right, again, respond to the question. How are these 2 clips examples of verbal irony? And are they verbal irony or sarcasm? And come up with an example, how might you use verbal irony in a way that isn't sarcastic? Last but certainly not least is my personal favorite, dramatic irony. Alright, once again we're going with the dictionary first. Irony that is inherent in speeches or a situation of drama and is understood by the audience but not grasped by the characters in the play. So dramatic irony happens when you, as an audience member or a viewer, know something important that the character on stage does not. Shakespeare and other playwrights love this kind of irony. With Shakespeare, you remember reading or maybe watching the story of Romeo and Juliet. You know, as the viewer, that Juliet isn't dead, that she's actually just unconscious. Romeo does not know that. And so it has a really powerful effect when you, as a viewer, are watching Romeo attempt to kill himself, successfully kill himself, and you sit there saying, "No, don't do it! She's alive!" It has a great effect for creating dramatic tension or for creating humor, which you will see in the next clip, presenting our favorite snowman, Olaf.
Oh, I don't know why, but I've always loved the idea of summer and sun and all things hot.
Really? I'm guessing you don't have much experience with heat.
Nope. But sometimes I like to close my eyes and imagine what it'd be like when summer does come. bees will buzz, kids will blow dandelion fuzz, and I'll be doing whatever snow does in summer. A drink in my hand, my snow up against the burning sand, probably getting gorgeously tanned in summer. I'll finally see a summer breeze blow away a winter storm, and find out what happens to solid water when it gets warm. And I can't wait to see what my buddies all think of me. Just imagine how much cooler I'll be in summer. Da-da-da-do, ah-ba-ba-ba-ba-ba-boo. The hot and the cold are both so intense, put them together, it just makes sense. Ra-ta-ta-ta-ta-ta-da-da-da-da-da-do. Winter's a good time to stay in and cuddle, but put me in summer and I'll be a happy snowman. When life gets rough, I like to hold on to my dream of relaxing in the summer sun, just letting off steam. Oh, the sky will be blue, and you guys will be there too, when I finally do what frozen things do in summer.
I'm gonna tell him.
Don't you dare.
In summer.
So quick response again, these are easy questions. You know something very, very important that Olaf the Snowman does not know. What is it? And more important question, which we're going to talk about a little bit in class. So think about it. How does the fact that you know this affect the whole song, the whole scene? What difference does that make? Would it have been different if Olaf was singing about winter instead of summer? What does the irony do to you as the viewer? How does that change what you're seeing and kind of the feel of the scene, if that makes sense? We'll talk more about that in class. We're going to talk about the effects of irony. So pause for a minute, respond, we're almost done. So in review, we've talked about situational irony, verbal irony, and dramatic irony. Situational irony, that creates an unexpected situation. Verbal irony, in which you say something that you don't actually mean or use sarcasm. And dramatic irony, in which things are unexpected for you as the viewer because you know something that the character doesn't. In class, we're going to talk more about the effects that these and other figures of speech and literary choices have in creating an effect for you as a reader. So I will see you then. Thanks for watching.